Alright, so today we're going to talk about a very brief introduction to what IFR is and a very general overview to this whole process of instrument rating. My name is George Muñoz. I'm a senior instructor pilot working in El Salvador, and in today's video we're going to talk about a general view of what IFR is and what it means. Just the very beginning of this massive world inside aviation that every pilot should know and understand if he hopes to become an airline pilot one day. We will also talk a very brief story about the beginning of IFR and its creators. And to wrap it up, we will talk about why getting the most out of your flight simulator is one of the best things that you can ever do when you begin your IFR training. I always try to explain what I talk about in such a simple way that everyone, even a kid, could comprehend it, or at least get a general idea of what I'm talking about and what otherwise could seem very complicated. So please, even if you are not inside the world of aviation at all, or if you just started your private pilot license but you are interested in this topic, I still highly recommend you watch this video. You'll probably get something out of it. This video is going to be divided in different sections, so here on the screen you will see the time for every different section. And also you will find the timestamps linked in the video description down below and also on a pinned comment down below. So if you're in a hurry or you just want to know about one specific thing about this video, please feel free to jump to the timestamp that you're interested in, so you can go use your time in something more productive. But if you wanted to see the whole video, well, thank you very much, I appreciate it quite a lot. Okay guys, so first things first, what is this whole idea about IFR? What does it mean? Okay, to begin with, IFR stands for Instrument Flight Rules. And what that means is that we should be able to fly the plane without ever looking outside the cabin, just looking inside to our instruments. Alright, so even if we do not have any windshield or any windows or any way to look outside the cabin, our cabin is completely shut down, even then we should be able to take off, to fly the airplane and to land the airplane safely, because we are looking at our instruments and they are saying to us everything that we need to know. So let me explain in an extremely simple fashion how does an IFR flight work. We have what we call an airway or an air route that works pretty much just like a flying highway made for aircrafts. And with the aid of our instruments and our navigation charts, we can follow and stay right on track within our highway. We just follow it like a car, and the highway tells us everything we need to know, like the required altitude for each specific segment of it, so that we don't go crashing right into a mountain, a high building or another aircraft. We make some turns here and there, and by the time we know, the highway has already taken us to the airport that we were heading to. But there is a whole story behind our precise instruments of nowadays. And everything started because the airmail. Yes, the airmail. Because people couldn't fly safely from one place to another to deliver the mail. And why couldn't they deliver the mail in a safe way? Because of the weather. Because clouds, because rain, because any kind of weather that wouldn't let them finish the flight safely. And by that time there were only two options. First option, you could land when you saw that the weather was becoming dangerous for you. You could land in the middle of nowhere. Or the second option, and probably not the best one, you will probably crash the plane. So around 1928, there was this awesome man called Jimmy Doolittle. This man was an absolute blessing for the whole aviation. Doolittle, along with other people, were the ones who designed the instruments so that we can fly the plane in bad weather. So this man was given the Medal of Honor, they named him the Pilot of the Year, and a lot of other condecoration for his name. So basically Doolittle built the whole IFR concept. He made it possible so that we could fly when the clouds, when the weather in general is not fit for us to fly. Doolittle became famous inside the world of aviation because he had created the instruments to fly under bad weather conditions. Before, we could only fly if it was a sunny day with good weather, blue skies, and all that. So he became famous inside the aviation world because he took the next step so that we can fly under bad weather conditions. Long story short, Jimmy Doolittle was the man who made an IFR flight possible for the first time. And also around 1930, Jepson began with his own aeronautical charts. And they were handmade on the cheap book, with his very own handmade IFR aeronautical charts. So as you can see, basically the story of IFR as well as the story of the whole aviation is just by evolution, just by trial and error. But that's the way aviation has always been, and I think is the way it will always be. So with that little story time out of the way, we can really talk about what IFR, IMC, and instrument rating really are. If you're a private pilot or you're studying to be a private pilot, you should know that you can only fly under VFR, Visual Flight Rules. But when you begin your training for the instrument rating, you open a whole new world for aviation opportunities. And that's because of the simple fact that you don't need anymore a set of good weather conditions. You don't need anymore a sunny day or a blue sky or a day without clouds. You can fly pretty much under any weather condition, with a few exceptions here and there that you will learn under your whole training. Okay, so we already said that IFR stands for Instrument Flight Rules, but you will also hear fairly frequently about IMC, and that stands for Instrument Meteorological Conditions, and those two concepts means basically the same. Besides that, with your instrument rating you can fly into bad weather, that means into rainy days, cloudy days. You don't need a specific distance between clouds, you can just fly right through them. In addition to that, you will have a lower cloud ceiling that will come handy for your takeoffs and landings when the clouds are really close to the ground. When otherwise, just with your private pilot license, you will not be able to either land nor take off because the clouds are way too close to the ground. The regulations just won't let you. Your instrument rating will also be way important for when you try to apply for an airline, because there is no important airline, or I don't know if any airline at all, that wants to hire people without an instrument rating, just because they are way less useful than a pilot with your instrument rating. And also because most airlines fly in Class Alpha airspace, and you can't even enter to the Alpha airspace if you do not have your instrument rating. The other major thing that I wanted to talk about was the beginning of the instrument training and the use of the flight simulator. Most of the students, for some reason, always try to use the flight simulator as little as humanly possible they can, because from what I've seen at least, they just want to rush to the airplane. I mean, the airplane is the fun part, right? Well, it won't be as fun for you during the beginning of your instrument training, because you won't have a very clear idea of what you're supposed to do. You'll get lost extremely easy, and you'll probably just end up wasting your first flight hours. If you just give yourself the opportunity to enjoy the simulator, you'll see how much you can learn inside it, and how it can make an extreme difference of your understanding of what you have already seen during your theory hours. So for example, inside the sim, you can fly right within a thunderstorm, fly into ice conditions, real IFR weather from takeoff to landing. So yeah, I cannot say enough times how important is your flight simulator hours into your instrument rating. I know we all want to get straight to the aircraft, but we need to learn the theory well before flying. And another big advantage from the simulator compared to the real plane is that you can really do whatever you want into the flight simulator. In there you can practice real IFR conditions whenever you want. Obviously, in the plane you will have to search for clouds, you will have to wait for bad weather, and even if you find the right elements to fly on the real IFR under a real flight, it could be dangerous, really dangerous. So when it comes to learning, maybe the flight simulator hours are even more important to the real plane, just because of the wide range of things that you can do inside the simulator. So why is it so important for you to make your simulator hours? I want to make very clear that your sim hours are one of the most important parts of your whole instrument rating. Because at the beginning of the training, it could be very confusing when you don't know what you're doing. And if you don't understand something when you're on the plane, there is no way to stop the flight. But if you are inside the sim, you can just press pause, ask the instructor for anything that you want, and you will resume the flight. And there is a lot of things that you need to at least have an idea for flying IFR. You need to understand the instrument charts, the landing procedures, the communication, which is also new. Also in the sim you can practice as many times as you want whatever you are practicing. You don't need to be worried about anything else that is not learning. During your instrument training you will get a lot of time into the plane, because it's the plane. But also you will get a lot of time into the flight simulator, and believe me, you want to get a lot of experience into the flight simulator before you go to the plane. Yeah, I know maybe it's a little bit boring or just not as interesting as flying the real plane, but it's inside the flight simulator that you will get the experience that you need so you don't waste your flight hour into the plane. So you can get your simulator hours from a flight simulator, an aviation training device, or a flight training device. That totally depends from the flight school that you're going to. Okay, so during your instrument training you will also experience a whole new bunch of activities. Your instrument rating will take about 50 flight hours. And during your instrument training you will also learn 6 new skills. In addition to the whole universe of opportunities that you get when you acquire your instrument rating, you also greatly increase your safety. The vast majority of weather incidents comes from pilots who doesn't have their instrument rating. Why? Because they don't know how to fly in bad weather. When a private pilot without instrument rating enter a cloud, he could very easily become disorientated and crash the plane. So, wrapping up all this, you can tell that there is 3 easy advantages for every pilot that has the instrument rating. First, you open yourself to a whole world of new opportunities. Second, you need an instrument rating if you want to fly for an airline. And third of all, you just increase your overall safety, so there should be absolutely no reason for not wanting to take your instrument rating. Now, for real, it's the best thing that you can do as a private pilot. The instrument rating should definitely be your next step. So, that's the end of today's video. I hope this wasn't too rambly or too all over the place. I'll try to get better at this, just give me some time. Thank you very much for watching, and if you enjoyed it or at least found it somewhat interesting, please give it a like. And if you learned something new, I'll appreciate it quite a lot if you subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be uploading at least once or twice a week, mainly explaining different topics that has to do in a way or another with the IFR world, but in a logical order. Also, I'll be probably talking about aviation in general, but always trying to contribute something new for you. If you have a question or an opinion about something I said in the video, please feel free to comment down below. I would love to hear anything you have to say. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in another video. Bye!